Hello, guys. We're back with another election prediction. This time it's the 2022 governor's map prediction, or gubernatorial prediction. And so far, the Democrats have really definitely turned things around in favor of them momentum wise. It's to the point where a lot of states that are leaning towards the Republicans are straight up toss ups, are sort of leaning towards Democrats now, especially in the Rust Belt with Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. So let me just fill in the safe Democratic states. Maryland's going to be flipped for the Democrats. Same with Massachusetts. New York's going to be an easy hold against Lee Zeldin. He really isn't trying to win in New York. If he was trying, he would be running a much more moderate campaign. In Rhode Island, it really isn't going to be competitive anymore, especially after the Dobbs decision. I think pro-choice voters are going to be very energized there. In the state of Connecticut, Republicans have a decent candidate here, so I do see it going about by a likely margin, I would say, in favor of the Democrats. Let's get to the safe Republican states: Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, even Iowa and Ohio. These are very popular Republican incumbents in both these states. Mike DeWine's probably definitely going to win around 15 points, I would say. People who are rating Ohio as likely Republican, I really doubt that. It's not going under 10%. I think Mike DeWine's a very good incumbent for Republicans, especially among independent voters. He has a very high favorability rating. Maybe not so much with the far Republican base there in Ohio, but I still think most of them will turn out and vote for Republican Mike DeWine, and he'll probably win by around 15%, I would say. Arkansas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, even though there's a former Republican running as a Democrat here, it's really not going to be competitive. Alabama as well. South Carolina, Trafalgar polls show the Republican only with an 8% lead. So I trust Trafalgar in the red states. Not so much in the Rust Belt. Sometimes they miss the mark there in a few of these by a couple points, especially in 2020 election. In South Carolina, I'm going to be rating this as a likely state just because the right-wing pollster Trafalgar is showing it in the likely column, so I'm going to show it in the likely column as well. The Democrats have a pretty strong governor candidate there. He used to hold a House seat in South Carolina, a swing House district that he lost in 2020, so now he's running for governor. And he has a chance of at least keeping it from going safe Republican, but the Republicans are still going to win there nonetheless. In the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, he's a very strong incumbent. It's going to be hard for even Charlie Crist, who was a former Republican, to be able to beat him here. I think DeSantis will probably win by about 5.5% or even 6%. Greg Abbott, also to see him winning by about 6% against Beto O'Rourke. But Beto, he's a one candidate to keep an eye on. Sometimes he just gets this huge surge of momentum when it comes to November, where he almost unseated Ted Cruz in the Senate race here. So keep an eye on Texas. It has a chance of going to the Democrats, but it's like a 5% chance at best. Maybe 10. Maybe 10. Alaska, honestly, after the Alaska special election, it's really convinced me to put this race from likely to lean now. It's only a lean Republican governor mansion, so it's decently competitive. It's definitely a swing state for now in the governor's election. The next state, Georgia. Honestly, I think Brian Kemp's a pretty strong candidate. I'm going to be recategorizing his seat from lean to likely at this point. I really don't see how Stacey Abrams can beat him. He's usually leading in every single poll by around 5 or 6 points more than that. It's around there, 5 to 6 point lead. So I'm going to say he wins by around a 5% lead, just barely. Probably like 5.2. Which state should we go to next? Minnesota, I think we should. You got an anti-vaxxer running against the Democrat here. And on the issues, he's far right. I don't think he'll win with independent voters. I think the incumbent Democratic governor, Tim Walz, will be able to win by about a likely margin against the Republican here. In Maine, at once this was a lean blue seat. At this point, I'm going to categorize as likely blue, just with the newfound momentum Democrats have. I don't think their incumbent governor here is in any danger against the Republican. In Michigan, Tudor Dixon, she's extremely unpopular in Michigan, very far right. She's going to get crushed with independent voters against Gretchen Whitmer. Probably by about an 8% margin, honestly. I don't see this race as being all that competitive. In Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, his race is actually closer than the race with Dr. Oz and Fetterman. So I'm going to be categorizing this as only lean blue. I think Josh Shapiro will probably end up winning by around 3.5 or 4.5% against Doug Mastriano. Again, Mastriano is very far right for the state of Pennsylvania, and I think Josh Shapiro is probably going to beat him among independent voters in this state. He really needed to moderate most of his policy views, and he's just not. He's just not doing that, and that's definitely going to hurt him among independents come November. The state of Wisconsin, we're going to save that one for last. That's probably one of the states that I'm a bit of a coin flip on. It's really hard to tell. State of Colorado, the Democrat here is probably leading by around double digits last time I checked. I don't think this race is going to be all that competitive, and I think it's a waste for Republicans to try to win this seat. They should really focus on a lot of other toss-up seats. The state of New Mexico, at this point, I would say it's probably going to translate into a 4% or even likely probably 5% win. I'm going to put it as lean, though. I still think the Democrats are going to pull out a victory here against the Republicans just with their newfound momentum coming out of the special elections. I think they'll probably win this seat by around 4%. In Oregon as well, the independent is more of a centrist candidate and is going to take away some votes from the Democrats, which is why this seat's only going to be a lean blue. Overall, I don't think the independent at the end of the day, I think most voters are going to swap to the Democrats here just to prevent a Republican from winning. I think the independent's probably only going to get around 10% of the vote, honestly, by November, and that's probably not enough for Republicans to win this seat, but it is enough to keep it within the realm of possibility. Nevada and Arizona, these are the hardest states to predict. Nevada, I think it's going to be a tilt Democratic victory, and I do think Mark Kelly being on the ballot in Arizona is also going to help Democrats get a very narrow victory against the Republican candidate here. But this Arizona and Wisconsin, those are the two states I'm most unsure of. But I think the Democrats will be able to pull off a narrow victory here just because Mark Kelly's on the ballot. And Kansas, I still don't see a path to victory for the incumbent Democratic governor. However, I could be proven wrong. But for now, I'm going to be putting it in favor of the Republicans. I still think they're going to hold this seat because they did just vote to keep abortion legal here. So maybe some more pro-choice Republicans are going to be like, well, we voted in favor of keeping abortion here, so may as well vote Republican now because I really doubt it's going to get overturned with that new statute in place that they voted on. In Wisconsin, it's going to be the most competitive race in the gubernatorial races in 2022. But so far, the polling is indicating a very narrow lead for the incumbent Democratic governor, and I think he's going to pull off a very narrow election victory just because I think the Republicans chose the wrong candidate to go against him. They should have chosen Kleefisch, and she was a much better candidate to run against Tony Evers and actually led against him in some polls. But right now, the Republicans are really blowing it, especially in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, just because they really do not have good candidates in any of those three races. And now with the Democrats doing well in special elections, it's looking like the Democrats are going to hold a lot more governor's mansions than expected. Let me know what you think this election prediction video in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.